What? Myron Golden, Dr. Myron Golden. Welcome to the Happy Hustle podcast, my man. This is going to be a doozy.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Man, I am so grateful for your time and really blessed that you came on the mic and just share your wisdom, your love, your light with the happy hustlers out there. You are just a master salesman, an 8-figure business consultant. You're a black belt. You're almost like, just the Superman who's overcome so many adversity. I mean, it's really impressive, your resume, and a best-selling author to add it to the list. And I wanted to talk about, some of the adversity you've overcome, including racism, on this episode of the Happy Hustle podcast. I feel it's a timely message and people could use your voice. So thank you for coming on the show, Myron. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And what I want to do to start things off is ask you, what is something that not too many people know about you that maybe is interesting that the Happy Hustlers could learn from?
Yeah, I play golf every day, almost every day. So that's that. And I think that's important because it's important to me because golf is important to me and I enjoy it. But it's important to have something that rejuvenates you. Right. And I love being outside. I used to be into fishing. And the only reason I don't fish anymore is because a good day for fishing is a good day for golf. And so golf is an easy, obvious choice for me. And so I play golf almost every day. It's part of my daily routine.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. So every day you're playing golf? I mean,
almost every day. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Myron, what I want to do is kick things off and just kind of give you an opportunity to discuss with the Happy Hustlers how you got to where you are. What got you started in business in, down this career path?
Yeah. So what got me started in business was, so I had polio as an infant. You talk about overcoming or adversity or succeeding despite racism. I live in Tampa, Florida. I was born in Tampa.
Nice.
I was born in 1961 when there was a lot of segregation and civil rights was a big movement. When I was born almost 100 years after the Civil War, but I was born in a segregated hospital because Black people couldn't be born in Tampa General. And the conditions of that hospital, they didn't have grants and they didn't have government funding and all this other stuff that hospitals have. And so the conditions of that hospital were less than stellar. And I contracted polio as an infant, some 5, 6, 7 years after the polio vaccine had been discovered. So like racism is something that has, quote, negatively affected my life every day of my life since I was an infant. And so people say, how did you do what you do? I think I got started in business because it was hard for me to find a job where somebody would pay me a significant amount of money. And I'm kind of allergic to bosses. That's what I call it. I'm allergic to having a boss. or I say, I don't have an outfit that matches a boss, right? So working for other people just never worked for me. I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't like being paid less than I'm worth. And so the obvious choice was to start a business. And I didn't even realize that was what I was doing when I first got started in business. I was just trying to make some money because I couldn't find a job.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, powerful story there. So basically you were born in Tampa. That's very interesting. I was born in Sarasota, Florida, right down the road.
Right down the road.
And you contracted polio, from the hospital. And, during that time, I mean, in the 1960s, systemic racism and social injustice taking place.
Yeah. At a much higher rate than now, even though it still exists.
Yeah.
It was like, I remember black and white fountains. I can remember traveling through North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and not being able to buy gas at gas stations, not being able to go inside a restaurant to buy food.
Wow.
Yeah. Like that's part of my childhood, not something I just read about in a book. Like that's stuff that I've experienced. So,
wow.
But what's amazing, there's an old African proverb that says, if there is no enemy within, the enemy without can do you no harm. And so one of the things we have to focus on, I think all of us have to understand, not giving a pass to racism by any stretch of the imagination, but we have to understand, and we have to come to the realization that there are two types of factors in life, and only one of those controls our outcomes. There are contributing factors and there are determining factors.
Mm.
The people, if anybody is ever attempting to get you to believe that all factors are determining factors, it's because they want to have some kind of control over you. So they want to tell you, if anybody ever attempts to make you feel like you're a victim, it's because they desire to have control over you, so, of some kind of control over you. And so you have determining factors and you have contributing factors, and you can always tell which factors are which. So what's really cool, some factors contribute to your life. You can't control them, but determining factors you can always control. Now that's pretty powerful. So
yeah.
Here's the difference. Contributing factors are all outside of you. Determining factors are all inside of you. So the fact that racism exists, that's a contributing factor in our society.
Yeah.
We don't have to let it be a determining factor, right? I had polio as an infant, but that's outside of me. So that is a contributing factor to my life, but it's not a determining factor in my life. How I perceive myself as a result of having had polio, that's the determining factor. How I perceive myself as a result of being an African American, that is the determining factor. So like determining factors are honesty, integrity, diligence, and hard work and good intentions. All of those things are determining factors. They're all inside of me. And those will determine the outcomes far more than any oppression or suppression that someone outside of me tries to rule or lord over me.
Man, that was beautifully said. So you have contributing factors and you have determining factors, and you really want to focus on those determining factors, what's inside of you. And I always talk about what really makes a happy hustler isn't the external factors, it's what's inside, the joy, the fulfillment, the passion, the purpose, the positive impact that you make on the world. These are the things that I'm living for, that I want to bring to the world, to bring to the happy hustlers out there. And I love how you so elegantly broke that down between contributing factors and determining factors, and really just allowing yourself to be in the driver's seat, to write your own story and not to read it. That's so well said.
Because you can't control what happens to you. Those are determining factors. I mean,
exactly.
You can't control, like if I'm driving down the road and somebody runs into the side of my car, I can't control that. But something I can always control. I can always control what I'm going to focus on. I have control over that. That's inside of me. I can control what things mean to me. I have control over that. I can control what I'm going to do next. So those are things that I control. Those are determining factors. It's really interesting that that there are those who would have you to believe that if you're poor, the government has to do something to save you from your poverty. Well, no, the government can't do anything to save you from your poverty, because as broke as you might be, the government's more broke. Right? Yeah. So they're trillions of dollars in debt. You just don't have any money, right? Dollars in debt. And so what you have to understand is if your financial problem is going to get fixed, you have to fix it. And the way you fix it is by learning something about money that you don't know, and then doing something different because you become someone different.
That's well said. I love that. So right now, Myron, what do you make of this whole situation, the pandemic, you know, I know it's a lot. It's a big topic, the pandemic first and foremost, but then, you know, obviously the tragic murder of George Floyd and the outbreak and the racism that, you know, finally is coming to a tipping point, and the social injustice. What do you make of all this right now currently?
Okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is, so all of my perspectives, like I'm not smart enough to really come up with a good perspective. So all of the ideas and perspectives and beliefs and foundation of how I operate come from scripture. And when I say scripture, I'm talking about the Bible. And so that's my foundation, and that's where I start. So if I learn something new, I'm going to evaluate whether or not what I just learned is true, because I'm going to go compare it and see if it matches up with scripture. If it doesn't, then I'm going to toss it. Now, I'm not saying that you should do that, but that's what I do. Right. And so my understanding of what, first of all, as far as the pandemic is concerned, while I do believe that the coronavirus is a real virus, I believe that the way it's been handled has a lot more to do with propaganda and mind control than it does keeping people safe. For instance, if wearing masks stops the spread of coronavirus or helps stop the spread of coronavirus, why did they shut down millions of businesses for 2 months? And if they don't work, why are they making people wear them? So they can't both be true, right?
Yeah.
sometimes we have to slow down just to think. I'm not saying, and I get, well, it doesn't stop you from getting the disease, it just stops you from spreading. Okay. If it stops you from spreading, if it helps stop you from spreading it, then everybody could just wear a mask and keep going to work. Right. I'm saying, as my dad would say, something in the milk ain't clean.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think more importantly than anything else, with regard to the pandemic, I'm going to call it that. I'm not going to make light of it, even though I don't think it's light, because a lot of people, I mean, it's real, and a lot of people have lost their lives, and a lot of people have lost loved ones. That's unfortunate. But the reality is, if what they're saying is true, people with a compromised immune system are at higher risk, at the highest risk of like succumbing to coronavirus. Then it would stand to reason the best thing that you can do to protect yourself from coronavirus is to boost your immune system. But nobody's saying that, right? Your body's immune system is the best defense against disease. So there are things that that you can do to boost your immune system. I'm not saying you can cure coronavirus. There are things like just not eating sugar boost your immune system.
Yeah,
right? Just that. Like you don't understand. But people are going out because they're in the house and they're buying all this junk food, and which they don't even understand is a bigger contributing factor to diseases like coronavirus or the flu or a cold
or diabetes.
Exactly. They're not wearing a mask. In fact, the reason I believe that cold and flu season starts in October is because Halloween candy, all the sweets in Thanksgiving, and then all the sweets at Christmas, and then the sweets at New Year's, and people were eating like boatloads of sugar, more sugar from the end of October to the beginning of the new year than they do any other time of the year. No wonder people are getting sick. Their immune system's paralyzed by sugar. Anyway, so that's
take care of yourself is your message.
Yeah. Don't consume high amounts of sugar and processed foods. Don't smoke. Don't drink. Like, take care of yourself. Boost your immune system. Do things that are good for you, not things that are harmful. Okay. With regard to what happened with George Floyd, it's really sad. Actually, he was the cousin of a young lady who works for me.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But even if he wasn't, he's somebody's brother, somebody's father, somebody's son, somebody's friend, right? And basically, what happened with George Floyd just made people aware of the fact that, for a lack of a better term, a better way of saying this, that it's not as illegal to kill an African American as it is to kill somebody else. It's not as, you can say it's illegal, but it's not as illegal because they didn't even arrest this guy until people started making all this noise, right?
Yeah. Nothing
was done until people said, no, y'all gonna do something. Like everybody said, no, you're gonna do something, right? And so sometimes one of the reasons that people are having such like America as a government is having such a hard time figuring out what to do is because if you do something about this, you can't just address George Floyd. You have to address the millions of other Black people who have been murdered, right? And nothing has been done about it. You have to address that. You have to address chattel slavery. You have to address. We have to address like the fact that America is not its slogans. It's a great country. I love living in America. I've been to other places. I can't wait to come back here, right? Yeah. I love living in America, but the fact is, we can call it the land of the free and the home of the brave, but it's the land of some who are free and some who are brave. That's the reality. And the reason everybody's not free is because there are a lot of people in power who are not brave enough to admit that America's not perfect, right? It's kind of like when I was in elementary school. I love America. I'm a patriot. I love this country. I hate what people are trying to do to destroy it. But, I remember when I first went to school, my mom taught me you don't have to say the Pledge of Allegiance to a flag. And I know a lot of people are going to have a reaction to that, right? Not say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, right? Well, I said, why? She said, well, because it's not true. I said, what do you mean? Now, you got to understand, I'm going to first grade or kindergarten. I don't know what pledge is. I don't know what allegiance is. Yeah. I don't know what liberty, justice. I don't know what any of the words mean. I just know they make you say it every day, beginning of school. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like everybody said, and I said, I'm not saying it. My teacher said, why aren't you saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Because I am not going to. My mom said I don't have to say it because it's not true. I didn't know why it wasn't true. I didn't know if it wasn't true. I just knew that the person that I trusted and loved, The person I trusted the most told me it wasn't true. The person I loved the most, that loved me the most, told me it wasn't true. And I knew she wouldn't lie about it.
Yeah.
And so I want you to think about it. I want you to think about, like, if we are going to address what happened with George Floyd, I love America. I'm not being anti-American when I'm saying, I'm just being real, right? We have to address, I pledge. What does pledge means? I promise, right? Allegiance means I promise to be your friend, right? Or to be an ally, to support and to stand behind, right? That's what allegiance is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when Black people are pledging allegiance to the flag, they're literally pledging allegiance to something that has pledged no allegiance to us.
Very true.
That's real. That's real talk. It's not me being anti-American. That's real talk. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag to the United States of America, the United States. The United States has been divided since before the Civil War, and it's still divided after the Civil War, right? So it's United States of America, but we're really divided states of America. Right?
We are.
And to the republic for which it stands, I won't go into republic, but I just because I don't have time for that conversation right now. To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. Okay. Well, if you're under God, you got to do what He says. And the Bible says that we're not supposed to be respecters of person. We're not supposed to treat people, one group of people, better because of what they have on or what they don't have on, or because of how much money they have, or the color of their skin, or what race they are. We're not supposed to treat one person better than another just because of some external thing. So if we're going to be under God, then we got to be under God. We can't say we're under God and then act like we're under somebody else, right? Under God, one nation under God, indivisible. Indivisible? We're indivisible? Well, then why is there a divide?
You made a sale.
No, that wasn't me. Was that you?
Oh, it wasn't me. It's all good.
All my phones are on do not. I don't know what it was. I have no idea. That was so weird. Okay.
Let's hope that means money just came in the door.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, money came in the door. We'll just call it that. So indivisible with liberty. Liberty means freedom. So everybody's free, and justice for all. Well, like I'm listening to a book an audio book right now called "Slavery by Another Name." I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not. It's really a hard book to listen to. I can only listen to.
Write that down. I
can only listen to maybe 1 or 2 chapters a day, and I just have to stop. But it's showing it's a historical document. It's a historical book. This author went back and documented how the state governments and the federal government, after the Civil War, after the Emancipation Proclamation, used the prison system to enslave hundreds of thousands of Black people and create a new level of free labor that was worse than slavery itself. And it lasted for almost 100 years after the Civil War. Actually, there are parts of it that are still going on. Wow. And like, if you listen to that book, like, it will be hard for you not to just weep your way through it. It's that heavy, right? Jeez. And or if you look at a book by Dr. Joy DeGruy called Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder, it's really interesting how we view things, where we have this cognitive dissonance in our maybe it's called something else, but I think it's cognitive, where we say we believe one thing and then we do something totally different, right? And like, I am not an animal lover. I don't hate them. Like, I don't even step on ants. Like, if I'm playing golf, I don't even step on bugs on the green. Like, I'm not cruel to creatures, right? But I don't have a dog. I don't have a hamster. I don't have a goldfish. I don't have a cat. I don't have a lion or a tiger or a pet elephant. I got no animals. Okay. But I don't hate them.
Yeah.
Right. But I couldn't be cruel to an animal, even though I don't not like them. It's not my thing. Right.
Yeah.
So, but if I were to, in front of a group of people, if I were to stomp a puppy, there would be outrage.
Yeah.
Or if I was cruel to my dog, if I had a dog and I was cruel to my dog, like, people would call the authorities on me.
Oh yeah. Right.
But historically in America, in the United States of America, Black people have been treated worse than you would tolerate torturing an animal for 401 years. Yeah. From 1619 to like modern day, it's not liberty and justice for all. So And the reason people don't want to have to deal, because if I deal with this, I got to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I deal with this, I got to deal with the fact that Thomas Jefferson was not this perfect person who just penned the Declaration of Independence. While he was penning the Declaration of Independence, he had a plantation full of slaves.
Yeah.
And now I got to address that. And that's a hard conversation to have. But until you're willing to have the hard conversation, you can't resolve until you're willing to confess and forsake, quote, the sins of our country's past. We can't fix the problems in the present, because the scripture says clearly, whoso covereth his sins shall not prosper. And that's what we've been doing for 400 years, just covering it up. But whoso confesseth and forsaketh his sins shall prosper. So it's like, it's so simple. Like, just acknowledge, but we don't want to acknowledge that. In order for us to acknowledge what happened to George Floyd was wrong, we have to acknowledge that what has happened for the last 400 years has been wrong. And now we got to go back and address the fact that all these great founding fathers had some, they had some dirty laundry.
Yeah.
Right? They had some stuff, some ugliness in their lives that was not as pure as the freshly blown snow. Right.
Yeah.
We just got to address it. So I think that's the only thing, when the powers that be begin to address the problems that have been, then those problems that have been, by acknowledging them and making recognize that it was wrong. Repent. What does repent mean? Change your mind. We're not doing this anymore. Right? If no reparations are made, just we recognize and we repent and say, this is no longer happening in this country. That would change America
forever.
Like it's never been changed before.
Yeah.
Right. For the better. Like it's never been changed.
For sure.
So that's one thing. Now that's what has to happen governmentally.
Mm-hmm.
And white folks are going to have to be willing to have hard conversations, and acknowledge it. Right. Black folks have to be willing to have hard conversations. We're going to have to, I believe that as Black people, we have to come to grips with the fact that while racism may be a stumbling block, it's not an insurmountable odd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're living proof.
And I don't need somebody outside of me to come fix racism before I can be successful. I don't need someone outside of me. I don't need racism to be fixed for me to prosper, for me to do well. I don't need racism to be fixed in order for me. Man, I don't know if I should say this or not, but
you could say it.
While I understand and acknowledge that the chances of me being brutalized or killed by a police officer are higher than a white person in my same category, when I get pulled over by the police, I'm not worried that I'm going to be killed. I don't ever give energy to outcomes that I don't desire. I'm not worried I'm going to be killed. I'm not worried that I'm going to be brutalized. I've been pulled over a time or two or 300 or 400. Right? No, I'm just kidding. I used to drive really fast. So I gotten pulled over a lot. But I've never gotten pulled over and thought, oh my goodness, I'm about to lose my life. I've never had that fear. But as a child, if a police car pulled up beside our car while our family, me and my mom and my dad and my 6 brothers were in the car, and we'd look at the police officer, my mom would say, don't look at those police. Because she knew that when she grew up, looking at police could cause you to lose your life. If you're a Black person, just looking at the police, because they could say you're looking menacingly at them just because they don't like Black people, and they could do whatever they wanted to you, and there would be no prosecution. So, but racism is real.
Yeah.
Right. But it's oppressive. It's not as oppressive as it was. So my chances of I got pulled over. I shouldn't have done this. I'm not even going to tell that story because I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. But there was a young police officer that pulled me over, and because I was speeding, and he came up and he was screaming at me. I said, okay, hold on a second. Let me tell you something. Here's what's going to happen today. You're going to give me a ticket or you're going to give me a speech, but I'm not taking both. So pick one. So he went back and he wrote me a ticket. Right? He didn't shoot me. Yeah. I'm not saying he could have. He might have. He could have said, okay, get out of the car. All of that stuff. It could have turned into something ugly. So I probably wouldn't do that again, but I was not feeling it. right? Some little kid. To me, he was a little kid. Like, you're like 20 something years old. You don't come screaming at me because I was driving fast, dude. I was driving before you were born. Anyway, so we do, as Black men, we don't have to go through life afraid that every time we see a police officer, we're going to lose our lives. Even though it's a real possibility, we don't. It's not a likelihood.
Yeah.
And so we don't. Here's why I'm saying this to Black men and women, because you don't want to give energy to outcomes that you don't desire. You want to give that energy like any place to grow in your life. Yeah. Because it's just not a good way of being. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So you don't want to give energy to outcomes you don't desire. Of any kind. And that's so well said, Myron. I mean, I think what's really important to take away from just, what you've just, the wisdom you bestowed upon all of us is you are in control of your own mindset, of your own reality, your own energy. You're in control of how you experience reality. You're not in control of your reality. You're in control of how you experience. Exactly. Your attitude and your effort. And despite all adversity, polio, racism, you found your way to success and to colorblindness, ADD, Ph.D, all of that. And you've wrote, a best-selling book. You've spoken on stages in front of thousands of people. I remember seeing you on 10X Grant Cardone's stage, and on Russell Brunson's, 30,000 people you're speaking on. And, despite all odds, you've overcome this adversity, and it's such an inspiring story. And I really just am so grateful that you're sharing it with the happy hustlers out there. And I do want to address the point, that racism is real. And I, being born a white male, have disproportionately benefited from the system. And it's a fact. And even more importantly, I think more importantly than that, what a lot of people don't realize is, were it not for hundreds of years of free Black labor, the system would not even be the system. Like it wouldn't even exist. It's really interesting how the children of Israel, when they were taken they were bondmen in Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt. When God brought them out, he brought them out with great substance. That's what the scriptures say. They came out with great substance, right? Because he caused all of the Egyptians to loan them their gold and their silver and their jewelry and stuff before they went out into the wilderness, which is fascinating to me, right? And they spoiling the Egyptians. And then they borrowed it, and then they left, and when they came out of slavery, they came out with great abundance. A lot of people don't know this. Abraham Lincoln. So a lot of people don't know this. This is not even a political conversation saying you should be a Republican or a Democrat. I am not fully persuaded that being a Republican, a Democrat, or even voting does anything at all. I'm not fully persuaded that it's real. Okay. In fact, I'm relatively fully persuaded that it's not. However, However, that's a bold statement. I know. Yeah, it is a bold statement. I admit that I could be wrong. Yeah. But I'm just going to say this. Historically, like we human beings are really fascinating creatures. We have a tendency to be for what's against us and against what's for us. And a lot of people don't even know this. Historically, the party that started slavery, that promoted slavery, that perpetuated slavery, that legalized slavery, and that fought and died to keep slavery from ending was the Democratic Party. Wow. A lot of people don't know that. The Republican Party, right. The Republican Party, one of the reasons it started was to end slavery. That's one of the reasons it started. I'm not saying you should be a Republican. Be whatever you want to be. All I'm saying, be kind. Be kind. There you go. Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. A lot of people don't know that, right? When he ran for the second term, he ran with a Democratic vice presidential candidate. You know who that candidate was? Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson. Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson was a Democrat who was pro-slavery. But Abraham Lincoln knew that he could not win the election with a Republican vice presidential candidate. When Abraham Lincoln when he did the Emancipation Proclamation, he declared that all slave families should be given 40 acres and a mule. Okay. So he sent his attorney general, who was also a Republican, to give them 40 acres and a mule. When Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, Andrew Jackson made the Republican Attorney General go back and take back the 40 acres and the mule.
Oh, wow.
And that's when the script flipped, and most black people became Democrats because they thought the Republicans lied to us. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying if you're black, you should be a Republican. But what I am saying is historically and categorically, the Democratic Party has been pro-slavery and anti-civil rights for black people.
Wow.
And it hasn't changed much. Now, the Republican Party is callous and cold and like calculating and not a whole lot better.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it real. Politicians, I like politics. That's such a perfect word for that thing. Poly, more than one, tick, a blood parasite, right? So perfect word, right? But the reality is, like I saw on Facebook, one of my friends, Joel Freeman, had on his Facebook post one day, "I'm tired of repeating myself." Signed, history.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. I mean, and we have to learn from history in order to make better decisions in the future. And that's why you see the social uprising right now and the riots and the looting and I don't condone that. But at this point,
I think the looting is more of a ploy by people who have an agenda. Like some of the Antifa people, some of the white supremacist people, to attempt to prove their agenda. Look what these black people are doing. When you look at it, actuality, a lot of looting and rioting that's going on is not even being done by black people. So
no, it's true.
So, and I'm not saying there's no black people right. That's not my point. My point is, it doesn't make it right. Like what happened to George Floyd doesn't make rioting right.
Exactly.
But talking about rioting compared to somebody who's supposed to be an authority killing a citizen that they're sworn to protect and serve, and nothing being done about it, demonstrates for everybody that the system has a problem.
Yeah, it is. It's a systemic issue, and right now there is change taking place because the people exactly, right? The people have spoken, and it's time for change. Right. History is continuing to repeat itself, and we must be better.
And if the change has to begin, or at least has to end up acknowledging all of the evils of the past. Because here's the reality: nobody could get away with saying, "Well, the Holocaust wasn't that bad." If you said that, like you'd be blasted. Yeah. But people talk about slavery like it was like, oh, it was just like, yeah, that was unfortunate. No, it wasn't unfortunate. Hundreds of millions of people were tortured and killed and worked for no pay. Hundreds of millions, hear me now when I say this, hundreds of millions of girls and women were raped. And the children they bore were enslaved by their own fathers. That was not Hitler that did that. That was the United States of America. If we're unwilling to address that and acknowledge it, the problem cannot be fixed because we're trying to sweep filth under a carpet. And the only thing that can do is fester and rot and stink.
Yeah. Wow.
Out again.
So true. And it's just gut-wrenching to think about, what our country has been built upon. And here we are in 2020 now, still seeing similar behavior from, police and other racist people from all over the world. You see the uprising because enough is enough. And, my goal is to, on this interview with you, really just shed light on it. And obviously we don't want to talk about, in
order to change, the thing that has to change first is your mind. Yeah. So go learn something you don't know. Here's what I'm going to recommend a couple of resources.
Let's do it.
Okay. A couple of resources. I mentioned one. There is a book that I'm listening to right now. Like I said, you'll probably cry your way through it, black or white. If you have a soul, right? You'll probably cry your way through it. It's called Slavery by Another Name, showing how they perpetuated slavery for 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, basically, in worse conditions.
Wow.
Slavery by Another Name.
Okay.
Another one is Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy, DeGruy. Dr. Joy DeGruy. She also has a video on YouTube that's worth watching. It's mind-blowing.
Okay.
It's just historical scientist. She's a social scientist. Very good content. Next thing is a book by, this one may be hard to find because it may be out of print. It's by Norm Stamper. It's called Breaking Rank. And he was the police chief in Seattle, Washington, and he peeled back the curtain and showed all the ugliness behind policing in the United States of America. And
those are great resources. I'll link those up in the show notes for all the happy hustlers, and even if we can find that YouTube video as well. Yeah. Those are great resources and great action steps. But what I want to do now, Myron, is kind of take it back to, baby Myron, and maybe even a lighter note. Yeah. What was your first hustle? Can you recall what you did first for money?
I gotta think back because my brother Rob's in here. I'm thinking, wow. Do I remember what my first hustle was? Probably shooting marbles, baseball cards, right?
Yeah.
But as a hustle for money, I stumbled upon selling cars. I came home from college, but we were poor. Like I've got 6 brothers, we were poor. My parents never bought a new car the whole time I lived in their house, ever, one time. Like I didn't. People bought new cars. All the cars we bought were $50 to $500, basically, right? And so came home from my summer, for my first year in college. That summer, I bought I think it was like a 1972 Buick Skylark. I bought it for $50 out of the Pakistan Herald. Drove it around all summer, but it wasn't. And I went to college in Indiana. So the car wasn't good enough for me to drive back to Indiana, so I drove it around. And I was getting ready to sell it. And a friend of mine said, yeah, I'm looking for a car. I said, well, I'll sell you this car. He said, how much you want for it? I said, I don't know, $300. He said, okay. And so I bought the car for $50, sold it for $300. I was like, wow. Nice. $50 after drive. So I basically drove this car for free all summer. It was great.
There you go.
And then I had a friend who was working on a Volkswagen Beetle in Indiana, and he wanted me to come help him do some body work on it. And so then I realized how easy they were to fix. Like I could take an engine out of a Volkswagen Beetle in 20 minutes, right? I mean, I really got good at working on Volkswagen Beetles. So I started buying old Volkswagen Beetles, convertibles, whatever I could find, fixing them up, painting them, selling them. That was my first entrepreneurial hustle.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And what I learned is an old Jim Rohn quote. It's better to make profits are better than wages.
Love that. So well said. Well, speaking of profits, I like to give the happy hustlers tangible, I call them happy hustle hacks. And I like to specify it in different categories.
Sure.
Let's talk about money first. We mentioned profits, and I know you've made, millions, and I know you've probably lost money, and I know you save it wisely and invest it. Let's talk about some happy hustle hacks for money for the happy hustlers out there. What is your money mindset, and maybe some actionable tips that you can bestow upon the happy hustlers?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that it's going to be something that's probably shocking to people. The value and essence of money is not materialistic at all. It's spiritual. So the value of money is spiritual. What do I mean by that? So if I take, I've got a penny right here on my desk. I think it's a penny. Yeah. It's a Canadian penny, but it's a penny nonetheless.
It counts.
Yeah. So I've got a penny and I've got $100. Okay. So you can see this. I've got $100 and I've got a penny, right? So which one's worth more? And I'll just take a $50 bill. Which one's worth more, the penny or the $50 bill? And I ask this at all my seminars. Which one's worth more, the penny or the $50 bill? But I usually do it with 100. Which one's worth more? And invariably somebody will say the penny. Now, there are several reasons why people say the penny. One is because we've been programmed by the miseducational, misdirectional system to believe that if an answer is too easy to come by, then it must be the opposite. So, and you got to understand why that's so important, right? It's so important to understand that's the mindset we've been given, because what we do is we go through life ignoring all the easy answers and the simple answers that are right in search of something more complicated, right? It's like people do things the hard way so they can feel smarter, right? So that's one reason. But the other reason people say the penny is they say the penny because the material the penny's made out of is worth more than the material the $100 bill is made out of, or the $50 bill in this instance. But so if money was materialistic in its value, then the penny would truly be worth more than the $50 bill. But because it's not, then the value must be in something other than the material. So people say, I don't really care that much about money because I'm not that materialistic. I say, which one is it? You don't care about money or you're not materialistic, because it can't be both, right? So the essence, the value of the money is this. One, the message that it carries. Language is spiritual. Language is something only spiritual beings have. Dogs have language, and they may be able to danger, right? But or no, I'm just kidding.
Scooby, Shaggy.
Exactly. That's about as good as it gets, right? For dogs, right? But we have language. We can talk about tangible concept, intangible concept. So language. So this says 1 penny, which means 1% of $1. This says $50, which means 50 times $1. So this is worth 5,000 times more than this because of, number one, the message it carries. Language is spiritual. The value of money is based on the message it carries. But what's backing a $50 bill? Nothing. So why is it worth $50? Because we believe it is. So let me ask you a question. Carrie Jack, is faith a spiritual quality or materialistic quality?
Oh,
faith.
I mean, I would say spiritual.
It's spiritual. That's right.
Yeah.
So the value of money is based on the message it carries and the faith that it creates. So therefore, the value, the essence of money is spiritual. Why is that important? Here's why it's important. Because if you want to earn more money, you must learn to operate at a higher spiritual level. You must learn to vibrate at a higher spiritual frequency. What does that mean? That means honesty is a higher spiritual level than dishonesty. You're going to make more money, right? Diligence is a high, like I'm going to work hard, not because I'm not going to work hard for the money. I'm going to work hard to make myself a better person because the work that I do makes me better. So, but also I'm going to use higher resources. So most people don't realize there are 4 levels of value. If you want to make more money, you have to operate at a higher level, not try to offer more value at a lower level. The lowest level of value is implementation. The person who does the thing makes the least amount of money. That's why people who clean hotel rooms make minimum wage. You can't rent a hotel room that's dirty. So their job's important. It's not because the work they do is not important, but they're using muscles, which is a physical resource, to produce money, which is a spiritual result. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
Level is unification. The resource you use on that level is your management skills. Managing people is a higher spiritual activity than doing the thing. The next level is communication, right? Language is spiritual. This is where fortunes start to be made. You want to make a fortune? Learn how to use your mouth better. Learn how to say better things to yourself, and better things to other people.
Yeah,
so
love that.
Mouth is the resource where fortunes begin to be made. You can the proclamation of profits. You have to have a message. Who represents this in our society? Authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, agency owners, copywriters, television and movie stars, playwrights, songwriters, singers. All these people are communicators. They know how to create messages that move the masses. Then the highest level, so we use our mouth. That's the resource we use. So when I use my mouth, I'm operating at a higher spiritual level. So using my mouth to make money is going to make me more money than using my muscles to make money. Then the last one is imagination. I use my mind to make money. I come up with ideas. I'm going to name a company. Carrie Jack, I want you to tell me the first name that comes to your mind. You ready?
Yes.
Don't even let 3 seconds, like say the first name that comes to your mind. You ready?
All right.
Apple Corporation.
Steve Jobs.
Everybody says Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Fascinatingly enough, Steve Jobs died, almost 10 years ago? Number
Yeah.
one. Number two, Steve Jobs didn't start Apple Corporation. Steve Jobs didn't invent the Apple. Steve Wozniak did. Nobody ever says Steve Wozniak. Tim Cook is now the CEO of Apple. Nobody ever says Tim Cook. Why? Because Steve Wozniak became a billionaire as an implementer because he hitched his suspenders to an Imagineer. Steve Wozniak knew how to create Apple. Steve Jobs knew what Apple was, or what Apple could be created into, what it could be turned into, how it could be perceived. And so because he was the idea guy, he's the guy you think of. Why? People with the best ideas make the most money. One of my favorite books was about a guy named Jim. His name escapes me. He created the guy that started the browser. That's not there anymore. What's that browser? The old browser, the one we don't use anymore.
AOL.
Netscape.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember his name. His first name is Jim. Jim something. It'll come to me. But so Jim, He built 3 multi-billion-dollar corporations in a 10-year time period. The last one he built, called Healthion, he built it part-time while he was programming the computer on his yacht to sail around the world without staff.
Oh, geez.
Right? So it just shows you that the mind is the thing that creates the most massive wealth. The people come up with the best ideas and can communicate those ideas the best. Those are the people who make the most money. I said all of that to say this. You want to make more money? Become better at sales. Perceive sales from a higher perspective, and then get better at communicating sales messages. You will make more money.
Wow.
That was a long way. That was the long way home, but we got it.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. I mean, it's so true. Sales are the lifeblood of any business. And, you know, I've watched you close from stage hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it was millions. Millions. Yeah. You have closed millions.
$3.8 million in 27 minutes at Funnel Hacking Live.
I remember that too, actually. Yeah, millions. And it's such an art, and there's a psychology behind it. It's not just, you know, random. There's a step-by-step process, and it's beautiful to see.
And selling has nothing to do with talking people into buying something from you. Has nothing to do with that. In fact, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Selling is persuasion, and convincing is the opposite of selling. Convincing is what a person resorts to because they failed to persuade.
Mm.
Let me give you the definition. Convincing is when I attempt to get somebody to do something I desire them to do for my reasons. Persuasion is when I help somebody make a decision they already desire to make for their own reasons.
Mm.
So convincing is what I do because I've not mastered selling.
Yeah, so well said. In terms of entrepreneurship, and I want to respect your time, so we'll wrap this up real soon. In terms of entrepreneurship, do you have a happy hustle hack that you can share with the listeners? You know, maybe they're looking to start a business and the pandemic is obviously like they don't know what to do, or maybe they have a business and they potentially need to pivot. Do you have any wisdom that you could share regarding entrepreneurship?
The first thing I'd say to most entrepreneurs, if you have something of value that you sell already, you're probably undercharging for it. That's the first thing. Raise your prices. That's the first thing I'd say. How much should I raise them? I don't know. Probably you should, worst case scenario, you should double them. Maybe you should multiply them by 5, 6, 10. And I know that sounds like so radical, but if you can produce a result for people, for instance, like I teach people how to sell from stage, for instance, right? When I first started selling that, I thought I was charging high ticket, right?
Yeah.
This was 2005, the first time I ever made this offer, right? I sold it, or maybe 2004. I sold it for $3,000, my speaker training, for $3,000. And I thought, nobody's going to buy this, but I'll offer it because if I don't offer it, they're still not going to buy it, so nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So, I offered it, $3,000, 2 people bought it. What? Why have I been selling all these $200 programs? And then next time I offered it, a month later, literally, I raised the price to $4,500. 7 people bought it.
Wow.
So now that same training, well, it's not that same. It's evolved. There's more to it now than there was then, but the foundation is the same. The retail price of that program now is $55,000. We sell lots of them. Now, you can't just go out there and charge somebody $55,000 for something, right? Mm-hmm. But I have students who, like, you have to be able to produce a tangible result. I like to be able to produce a result that's 10x what they paid me, right? In the first 12 months following. But I've had people literally make $260,000 a week after taking my training.
Wow.
They already had something planned, but they were planning on losing money. Instead of losing money, they made money. Right?
Yeah.
I've had people take the training, do $5 million in sales the very next event, $300,000 in sales the very next event, like $874,000. Like the numbers are so astronomical. Well, like one guy, last year he did his event, or not last year, 2018 he did his event, and he did $150,000 in sales. Took my training and had me come in and do a repitch and a pre-pitch for him. He did $1,875,000 in sales.
Wow.
So 55,000 sounds like a lot.
Yeah, but it's all relative.
It's all relative. And so what you have to do, like, look at the result you can create for people and extrapolate what that's worth, and then charge them 1/10 of that.
Yep. That's beautifully said. So raise your prices, you happy hustlers. If you're giving value, you definitely want to make sure that you're delivering upon, your product or service first and foremost. Yeah. Now, Myron, Is it cool we run through the rapid fire round real quick? This is just where I ask you random questions. All right, let's get it. So, first question is favorite movie. Go.
The Count of Monte Cristo with Jim Caviezel.
Ooh, favorite food.
By far my favorite. What's that?
Favorite food.
Favorite food, Mexican food.
Favorite book.
Favorite book, the Bible.
What's your spirit animal?
I don't know what a spirit animal is. Because to me, okay, when you say spirit animal, that's like saying what's dry water to me. So I can't.
What animal, if you could be any animal, who would you be? Or what kind?
That's hard for me, bro. I would not want to be. I don't have an answer for that.
All right.
Human. I can be an animal. Sorry.
We'll skip it. Best business advice.
Best business advice, raise your prices.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I already have it. Expectation.
Ooh, one word you wish to be synonymous with your name for the rest of your life.
Wow. One word? One word? How can you do it with one word? Love.
Oh, crushed it. 3 things you're most grateful for.
I am most grateful for the fact that I live in America. I'm most grateful for the fact for my family. That includes wife, children, brothers, parents, my family. And I'm grateful that I'm an entrepreneur.
Love that. Myron, where can people go to find out more about you, to learn about your sales training, to see your stuff online, to get your books? Give us some links.
So I'll give you some free. Let me give you some free stuff first.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you. You can follow me on Instagram at Myron Golden. That's free. You can join my Facebook Bible study group for entrepreneurs. It's called Bible Success Secrets. And I teach some biblical success principles every Wednesday morning. Have been doing it since 2013, recording it, I think, since 2015. So we literally have 5 years of me teaching principles about business in the Bible.
Wow.
5 years of videos in our Facebook group called Bible Success Secrets. That's free. Another free resource that I have for you, though, like I charge $25,000 an hour for coaching.
Wow.
Okay. If I were to coach you for 2 hours, I would teach you 3 lessons. I would make sure you understand having the right business model, that you're in the right business market, and that you have the right business message. I taught this at my roundtable for 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think, something like that. 2 hours and 20 minutes at Funnel Hacking Live last year. I recorded it. It's literally $50,000 worth of coaching. Like if you were coaching me one-on-one, it's exactly what I would tell you. I'm going to give it to everybody for free who wants it.
Wow.
Okay, so go to businessfromhomeacademy.com. Businessfromhomeacademy.com. Literally, I downloaded my business brain into an audio. You follow, like, if you will follow the principles on that audio, it's impossible for you not to create wealth. And I know that's a bold statement.
That is such a gracious offer. Thank you so much, Myron. So check out, obviously, Myron on Instagram. He's crushing it with content. Go to Bible Success Secrets on Facebook. And then if you're not getting this resource, you're missing it, Happy Hustlers. I don't know. There's no reason not to learn from Myron and his unbelievable wisdom. Businessfromhomeacademy.com. You can get this 2.5-hour coaching session for free, which normally costs $50,000. Yeah. So you guys definitely take them up on that. Thank you. And I know some people
are wondering, why would you give it away for free if you charge $50? Because I don't like coaching. So and that way I don't have to have a 2-hour conversation with hundreds of people.
Yeah,
for free. And then when you come to me, you got something to start with.
Exactly. Love that. Thank you so much, Myron, for your time today and sharing your love and light with the Happy Hustlers. Last question. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Actually, that's a really great question. Happy hustling means being in flow. Because what do I mean by that? It means being in flow. Keyword being. What does a tree have to do to bear apples? Like, what does a tree have to do to grow apples? It has to be an apple tree. So if you will focus on becoming the person who can do the thing, everything you're supposed to have will flow out of that.
Mic drop. Love it. Thank you so much, Myron. I really do appreciate you. This has been amazing.
All right. Thanks, Gary Jack.